Is something leaking in here? Yes, Pokemon. A huge leak hit Game Freak. We're going to talk about all of the news and revelations that came out of that little hack. Then we've got a case for you this week. Is it okay to call someone cold without a warning? We've got a little dispute between a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and we're going to settle it for them. Stay tuned. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, Do Not Disturb.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. And if you'd like to help support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/geeksontrial. Give us your money, give us your stuff, and yeah. That's
give us your money, give us your stuff. Put your stuff in the bag and nobody gets hurt.
Nope. Put your stuff in the bag and nobody gets hurt. Come on, send us your bag.
We should walk around, go to a bank with, assault rifles, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Masks. Mm-hmm. And we hold it. We're like, get down to the floor, God damn it. Hold on, let me finish. You'll hear me out.
Yeah.
And then we go around and we're like, give us your shit. And they're like taking their watch off and whatever. And we're like, no, not that. And then we just get our phone and there's a little sign up for the Patreon. Click this button, put in your credit card info now.
Do you hear that?
Or I'm going to fucking shoot you. No, hear what?
There's an ice cream truck passing my house right now.
Oh, I do hear that, yeah.
Because,
get something.
It's cold and it's October and
it's a little late for an
It is a little
truck.
Late, so I was curious if you can hear that, but yeah, it's nice and loud.
Like 6 p.m.
It's getting louder too. Do you?
Yeah, well,
we're not cutting this. It's just
no. Well, it'll be fun or people won't be able to hear it at all, and we'll just sound crazy.
Right, we're just losing. But so in this bank situation, we'd be in our robes, right?
I've moved on from the bank situation. Let's talk about something else this week. A fun bit of news to wet our whistles for tonight's show, if you will. Ooh, that sounds wet as hell.
Oh, I know how you like it. That wet ass whistle.
Wow. So something happened this last week in regards to Game Freak. Mm-hmm. Game Freak, the developer behind the Pokemon series. You familiar?
Mm-hmm. I am. I love to get my Game Freak on.
We know that we know that about you.
My freak on.
Well, there was apparently a huge data breach that supposedly we know now took place in August, so a couple of months ago, but none of it really hit anywhere or leaked in a big way until just this past week. Mm-hmm. And this was a massive leak of documents and files and stuff out of Game Freak. I'll just kind of give you a summary of some of the stuff that got leaked out there.
Summarize your leakiness for us. I want to hear about your leaky.
So a lot of it was kind of nitty gritty stuff that if you're not a Pokemon fan, probably doesn't interest you, like alternate sprites and designs of Pokemon that they didn't use. Kind of interesting, but more so if you're really into the series.
Well, wouldn't that be 7-Up? The alternate to sprite would be 7-Up? Maybe Sierra Mist? Misty?
It's Starry now. It's Starry now.
Starry. And
I think
anyway.
These are all Pokemon, by the way.
Huh.
Yeah, Mountain Dew is a good one, too.
I love Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, it's a grass water type, or it's an earth water type, I guess.
Earth water type.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Ground. Earth isn't the type, it's ground.
Let's just keep this going.
Anyway, so some of the big things, we got some stuff about the next Pokemon Legends game, which was apparently supposed to release this year, but doesn't seem like it's going to. We also got some leaks about the next Pokemon actual mainline generation, which will have, of course, 2 different versions, and which is apparently in development for Switch 2. So whatever that's going to be called, which we got also a confirmation of the code name, the internal code name for Switch 2 being used by Nintendo apparently is ounce, as in a measurement, ounce. What does that mean? I don't know. We can talk about it.
It's gonna be very light. That's what it means.
Supposedly some kind of a multiplayer Pokemon game in development. that we don't really know much about. Also, some stuff about the Pokemon series, like new movies. It sounds like they're making a sequel to the Detective Pikachu movie, possibly a live-action Netflix series in the works. These things maybe we don't know how official or like real they are in terms of actually happening, but these were discussed. A whole bunch of stuff. I don't know. I don't know what your overall initial impressions are hearing about this breach.
Let me ask you questions about just video game leaks in general. How do you when you hear this kind of stuff, are you upset because like, oh, this wasn't announced yet and potentially this is not going to happen because it was leaked, or was it just like but just another day in data breaching, whatever?
Another
because
day
like
in the data breach.
Because a lot of this stuff is like, okay, this could have been just like a picture on a whiteboard that somebody was like, okay, Pokemon ideas, go. And nothing official. Like they haven't seen game files or images of like, cover art or anything like that. So this could have been like, oh, we just hacked into somebody's notes app and found some stuff they want to bring up at the next meeting. Or like we said, it could be like big official news, but does it, as a buyer of games and somebody who likes the Pokemon verse for the most part, do leaks and stuff like this piss you off, get you upset, or anything like that?
I mean, I certainly wasn't pissed off or upset hearing about this. I am really not. I used to be a Pokemon fan. I haven't. It's been several years since I have picked up a new Pokemon game. Thank you. So I really don't have a vested interest in this series. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that I see people talking about is like, holy shit, Umbreon used to be green or whatever.
Right.
I'm like, did you know there was going to be a Mega Jinx? Okay. Cool.
Like nothing that's going to like spoil a game, but also to like leaking of a Pokemon game or anything like that. They're kind of all the same game at this point.
It's also not like, whoa, you're telling me there's going to be 2 new versions of Pokemon? Right. No way. It's going to be on the next Nintendo console?
And it's not like any of these games have like a in-depth storyline that's like, we're going to tell you what the final boss is. Like there are some things, sure, the final gym boss or what, stuff like that, but like gym leader. But it's nothing ever like spoiling a film or spoiling a TV show ending or anything like majorly storyline that would come from a Pokemon game in general. I say.
I mean, I think you're right in terms of narrative. There are people out there who I think would be annoyed, like would avoid this stuff and don't want to hear about like some new Pokemon that hasn't been revealed yet. They'd rather wait until they see it or it's in an official trailer or something,
so they can feel the actual magic when it actually hits. I understand. Sure, I get that.
Yeah. But for the most part, it seems like this stuff has been pretty. I feel like you have to go looking for it to see it, unless you're like on Pokemon subreddits all the time or something.
Right. Because even like, I don't even think like IGN or whatever, they'll mention it, but it's not like they're going to be like, here's everything that was listed. Well, or like if they do, scroll past it.
Yeah. Because this is a leak, I think most big video game sites they're talking about the news, but they're not actually publishing the images or the documents because it's not really like you want to have a good relationship with the Pokemon company and Nintendo, and it's kind of a bad look to be like, let's share all this shit that illegally, because it is illegal. It's all was shared illegally.
Somebody hacked into it
at the top of this show. So
oh boy, we're going to jail. But but we just kind of spoke about what it was, but not really like, oh, we're going to show you the stuff. We're not going to show you pictures, images, because you're right. You want to keep that kind of stuff hidden because you don't want to also, promote or like attaboy the person who hacked into the thing, because more people will do it. And then there's also questions of like, okay, was it an inside job? Was it, somebody from the company that leaked it? Or
I think it was, I don't know if this is official. I think I read that maybe it was like a phishing thing, like an email thing where they somehow stole a bunch of passwords or something.
Magikarp.
Yeah, I think they used the Magikarp to get in there. I don't know, but I mean, I like a good conspiracy theory that it was somebody on the inside. Maybe Team Rocket did it.
But wasn't that like a whole thing like with one of the Grand Theft Autos where it's like somebody left their laptop somewhere
Oh, I
or like
think
there was
something. It
something,
was like
some
somebody's
game.
nephew or something.
Yeah, and
Leaked
it's like
some
they
footage.
found it and it leaked it because it was around. Like that's not even like, so it's not like something like that. Like from an, like that's what I mean
Yeah.
inside. So yeah, but and it's never great, and it kind of screws with the company because Nintendo's also the kind of company who is like, oh well, this information got out. Start from scratch. We're doing like if a game idea got out, they would just like that game's not coming out.
It could be, but also remember, it's not. This Nintendo has a stake in this, but it's the
Mm,
Pokemon Company and Game Freak, which are technically not fully owned by Nintendo, so they kind of, to some extent, do their own
right.
thing. And also, again, all this stuff could be different now. They could change cores. Who knows what we're going to see? It
Right.
is kind of maybe the most interesting thing to me, even though it seems obvious at this point. It's confirmation that they're definitely working with a Switch 2. Like whatever that's going to
Right.
be, it's actually happening.
But it's
Probably
also
for
like,
next year.
is it really spoiling that A, there's a Switch 2 coming out, and B, there's going to be a Pokemon game on the Switch 2? It's like, that's
Right.
just,
Yeah,
no.
no, it's
Like,
it's like, but but also I would have thought, I thought the Switch 2 was going to come out for the last 3 years, so it is
well,
just
I
kind of
mean,
nice to be like,
so
it's
did everyone
there,
else. Right.
it's concrete, like
Right.
it's
It is like a
some
little reassuring. It's like, oh, wait, they
right,
have a potential name, which my favorite, by the way, my favorite code name for everything was the Dolphin for the GameCube. That was my
pretty
favorite.
cool.
Yeah.
I
But,
mean,
so
Revolution,
what was that for?
that was for the Wii.
That was for the Wii? Okay.
Yeah,
Now, do you have any ideas or any insight or anything about the code
no,
name? Anything that you can like,
oh,
think
I
about?
I
'Cause
am,
I feel like it's just
yeah, I think it's just a word. I don't think
right.
it's means anything. I mean, most you could take out of that is like it's lighter, maybe because it's like
Right.
weighs an ounce.
Or you need like a bag of weed to get it or something. I don't know. An ounce bag
Maybe
of
that's
weed,
what it is.
Yeah, Nintendo's getting real big into drug paraphernalia and lore.
There
Yeah.
are a couple of little points that I want to say that were leaked, which
Hmm.
I am going to read, because apparently there's these internal documents that are like, I'm not really sure what they are. They're like stories, like written in the universe of Nintendo that maybe were planned for a game, or like a side
Oh.
quest that didn't come to fruition. So if you don't want to hear maybe spoilers, you could skip ahead. But it's like just really weird, like stuff that I don't think is gonna make it into a game. Because one of them is about there's a Pokemon called a Sharpedo, which is like a shark,
Hmm.
and one of them is about people who capture them and cut them up and eat them,
Okay. Oh, because shark, that's a thing, and okay.
like
Asian
shark fin
countries.
soup.
Right.
And then there's another story about a Pokemon called a Slackoth, which is kind of like a big sloth.
Hmm?
And the story basically implies a woman gives birth to a baby Slackoth, and it sounds like she had sex with the Pokemon.
Well, I mean, the name itself kind of sounds a little.
So it's some kind of weird. I don't know where this was supposed to appear, but there's like a piece
Is
of
this
fiction that has this.
this is like some fan art stuff, isn't it? This was leaked from like the deep dark web somewhere.
Somebody in Game Freak wrote this story, maybe just for fun, but they found
Well,
it
and that's
there.
the other thing too. It could have just been something that they were like having fun with in the company, or just like chill. Like this is their private
Right,
thing that
right.
they found. Who knows what you can find. Now, bringing it back to leaks in general for companies, there are some like leaks that are sometimes good and show like the dark side of a company occasionally. There's a bunch that have come out over the
Snowden.
last couple years. Well, not even like that, but it's like oh, now we know how much the CEO actually gets paid, or like how much profit they make per one thing. Like there are some leaks like that, which is like kind of eye opening for some things, but like.
Mhm.
I feel like a leak like this isn't like alarming, but also not the best thing in the world, because like, oh, what else can they get into next? How did they, how did a big tech giant not have enough security for them to get in? So it's that kind of stuff too, especially when like a lot of us have our credit cards and stuff linked to Nintendo accounts, or even for Pokemon Go accounts and stuff like that. So there is some of that to think about with these kind of things.
Yeah, Game Freak has, they apologized, and they said that they plugged the leak and all their security and all this stuff. I don't know if they were aware of this in August or
Right.
what. I don't know exactly.
Because it is
what the
weird
timeline
that's
was.
like somebody was sitting on this since the summer.
I wonder what that's about. Maybe they wanted to cover their tracks somehow, or
Figure out what people actually knew before they actually submitted anything, and they leaked more than the leaker leaked.
Whatever you just said, I agree.
Leaker leaked.
So yeah, it's a strange thing. Yeah, I certainly am not, like, in this particular instance, it didn't really faze me because I'm not a Pokemon fan, but
Right.
generally speaking, it does kind of, it can spoil the fun to just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. What I think is cool about it is seeing the, and that I don't mind being revealed is like the behind the scenes alternate skins or
Right.
plans for things that never came to fruition. That's kind of fascinating, especially because, like, with Pokemon, they're, the Japanese companies like this, Nintendo, are very secretive. They really don't talk
Right.
about this stuff.
Like stuff that they would put out like eventually in probably like some kind of book or like, oh, this is the encyclopedia of Pokemon. This is what could have been,
That's
stuff that,
interesting.
That kind of stuff. It is fun and cool to see like the special features of a game, more or less.
But when it's like, here's a game, here's just what's coming out next year, and you would have heard about it in 6 months, but we're kind of ruining it.
Right.
That's kind of lame. That's not really, like, cool, but
Well,
whatever.
also too, like it gets people's hopes up. That's like, this is probably not going to be what hits the shelves. If this is like 6 months out, a lot can change in 6 months of a game. So it's like, it could be like, oh, we're excited for this. And then that doesn't come out and they're like, oh, but we saw this. So,
For Game Freak, that's like 2/3 of their development time on a game. That was a zing. A little zing at them.
Oh.
All right, well, go online if you want. You can find all this crap.
Yep.
Or avoid it like the plague.
Yep. And just don't leak things. Don't hack into big companies.
Just don't leak. Just try not
Just
to
don't
leak.
Just try not to leak. It's hard.
It's hard. It's hard not to leak.
real
But
hard to
we have a
leak.
case that we're going to talk about today.
Is it a leaky case?
No, this one's airtight.
Not moist at all.
Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our episode description. Our defendant today is Alex. Now, one thing that Alex does not like is her phone ringing. It gives her anxiety, which is something she suffers from in her day-to-day life, and so she often keeps her phone on Do Not Disturb mode. Alex's boyfriend, Wyatt, is not too amenable to this habit, as he likes to call to give Alex a heads up about his whereabouts or various other messages day to day. As a compromise, Alex requests that Wyatt text her a few minutes before calling so she has a heads up. But Wyatt abandons this practice just a few days after it's requested, and he thinks that in general it's an unnecessary and unreasonable thing to ask of him. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Wyatt should be free to phone a friend, or if Alex should give him his final lifeline. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I wrote that one down and I kind of thought this isn't that good, and then I forgot to like come up with something better.
You were kind of smirking, like you're kind of like, oh, you caught me.
I don't think I was smirking.
You're smirking. You had a big old smirk on your face.
No, I had a poker face. That's
what? It's coming by again. The ice cream truck is going down the street.
This is your last chance. I want a fudgesicle. Go get one right now.
Oh, it's a Mr. Frosty, Mr. Softy truck. So I think they just
what?
do
They
ice
don't have
cream.
a fudgesicle?
I think they just do soft serve ice cream.
Who wants that?
Why do you think no one's running out of this house to get it? You don't hear it stopping.
I want strawberry shortcake, chocolate eclair, almond toasty, creamsicle, ice cream sandwich, the Dixie cup, the rocket pop, the one that looks like SpongeBob or Sonic the Hedgehog with bubblegum eyes.
Yep. Choco Taco, if they can just find another one in store. I'm sure there's one somewhere in that truck.
Klondike bar.
Yep. What would you do for anyway?
There's so much I would do. I think I named most of them. I guess you got like the wrapped cones, like the Cornetto.
I like the frozen Snickers bars, like the ice cream Snickers bars.
Do they have those in the trucks?
Oh, I don't know.
Chipwich. A
Chipwich. I love me a Chipwich.
Wow,
well, that'll do it for this week.
I want ice cream so bad. Yeah, so this case is about technology because it's
not
about
ice cream.
Phones. No.
You could probably order ice cream on your phone.
I mean, you could. I'm sure you could.
Hold on.
I don't know that it would be. It just doesn't seem
Oh,
like the ideal way
it would
to
show
get
up
it.
as soup.
Mm-hmm.
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 Yeah. Not the best thing ever. But this case
No.
is about phone technology and a heads up about calling, texting, call me, beep me. You know, you know how
Maybe.
I do
Call
it.
me, maybe.
Call me maybe. Oh, we
Call me,
could have
maybe.
called. We should have called the case. Call me
We should have
maybe.
called it
Don't
maybe.
call me maybe.
Hey, I just met you.
Hey, you're my boyfriend, and shut the fuck up. Um,
I'm
what's
put
your
you on silent.
What's your
Okay.
stance on this? What is your? How do you when you're getting a phone call, your cell phone rings in the
Mm-hmm.
modern era?
Mm-hmm.
Does it make you feel good? Are you excited? Are you nervous?
So I have a few things with this. I used to be the guy who was like, call me if you want to send me a long thing. Like
I
if
can
you,
still hear that ice cream truck.
I said, oh, that's my ringtone. Somebody's calling me. I'm sorry.
Oh, now I'm getting anxiety. Yeah.
So, usually if it's like somebody in my contacts, it's somebody who's like, if I see it's so loud.
It's 6 p.m. What kids are like out? It's dark now. It's like, is it nice outside over there?
It is super nice outside.
Okay.
It's like
All right.
75 and like breezy. It's like
Okay.
a late summer day in this area. And it's not like I live like near a park or anything where there's like a baseball game going on or like it might.
It's a Monday. Kids
Right.
are
Kids are in
maybe
school
they're
or
getting out
asleep.
of like soccer practice or something. Maybe that's what
But then
this
go by.
is.
There's no soccer field. There's no kids in my neighborhood.
Yeah, I think
You know,
that's
it'd be great.
for you to live there. They have to be 400 feet
For
away, right?
That's why it's so weird. He's parking out front, trying to get me in trouble. He's trying to. During the fall, they should do like a hot chocolate or a hot apple cider truck that drives around,
Ooh, that's good.
like a seasonal, all year round thing.
That's good.
So back to phone calls. If it's somebody in my like contact list that I actually know, and I see them calling me more so at a certain time, I'm going to think it's an emergency. Like if like you and I like we talk, but we don't talk like we text talk. We don't speak to each other on the phone unless it's like, hey, I'm here. That's basically it. What are you doing? That's my mom. I don't really text with my parents unless it's like, hey, how are you? How's the weather in Florida? Stuff like that. But like that'll be a weekly, monthly phone call that I do. That's about it. I've even gone to the point of if I have to call a restaurant to order food, I'm not going to that restaurant.
Well, this is let's break this down because I feel like this is a very it might be more Zoomers. But I think it's definitely there's some bleed over into millennials and Zoomers of generally speaking, these generations do get anxiety from talking on the phone in general, being called or calling someone else.
Now, I don't necessarily get anxiety over it. I don't. It doesn't like it more so just annoys me, or the anxiety is what happened. Oh crap! Jonathan's calling me. Something like I'm his one call in jail, or like something like or like oh somebody's in a hospital, like especially it's like oh if it's like past bedtime, and it's dark out and people are asleep. It's like oh my mom's calling me at like midnight. Something's going on. My dad's calling. Like that, and I'm sure you get the same kind of feeling too because it's rare that people will call you. But do you have? I'm sure you do have those few people in your life who they will only call you. Be
Yes.
it family members, most likely.
Yes, it is exclusively. It's 3 or 4 people, and they are all my family members aged 60 or older.
Yeah.
Only people, and not only there's another thing that goes along with that because it's the same group of people are the only ones who will leave a voicemail for me. Only voicemails.
Yeah.
Anyone else, if I don't answer the phone, they'll either send a text or. I'm aware. I see that they called. I can call them back or text them later because I know they called.
Is it the voicemail that's, hey, it's so-and-so, call me back?
or sometimes a 2-minute, everything they wanted to say on the phone call, they might just put into the voicemail. Or, the old, well, it's Tuesday night at 7:30. Yeah, I know. I see. I can tell.
Hey,
You don't need to
give me
say
a
your
call
name.
back at phone number,
Yeah,
and
right. Call me back at this location.
have you
It's
ever
like
gotten the tag you're it from anybody? That's an old school. All
no.
right, phone tag you're it.
Right.
That's a yep. Now,
Yeah.
yeah, usually like even like so I use Discord for a lot of my communications with friends and people of the like. It's so rare for me to even use my phone for texting. You know,
Hmm.
if I can not have a data line from my phone, I think I would be okay with that. But I
But
need
you
it
can
for
Discord on
like,
your phone though.
but there's not Wi-Fi everywhere.
Mm, mm, mm.
So you still need phone data for GPS, music. Like, there's not Wi-Fi everywhere at this point yet because, at some point I wouldn't need a cell plan.
Basically, what you're saying is you don't need your phone to be a phone anymore. That's our society now. Is
Yeah,
I just want a computer, which is basically what
basically
it
what.
is.
Yeah.
Basically what we have.
Now so I used to work for a doctor's office where I would say 70% of my job was picking up a
You are a
physical.
pediatrician.
Yeah, I was a pediatrician in my country, and but yeah, I do physically pick up the phone and either call people or get irate, angry phone calls from people. Because either the doctors that I worked with, they were like, "Oh, I'm canceling my appointment today. Can you call everyone and tell them I'll see them in 3 months?" And then you have to deal with them yelling at you. So, customer service phone calls, I think, is also what makes our generation a little upset too, because business phone calls and corporate phone calls, you can't text somebody with certain things. Like you can't make a doctor's appointment via a website or a text mostly. You can't do a lot of things like basically job things. You can't do via any form of text besides some email. But a lot of times if you need something done like quickly, they want you to call them. So that's where I think I do get some of my phone anxiety or phone hatred from, is because for like 4 years I worked in a place where I just got yelled at all day on a telephone.
Well, you do have now at offices, you have like Slack or whatever, Microsoft Teams,
Oh, I was
right?
even talking about like the client that the patient's calling us.
Oh, I'm not inter-office.
Now in our office we had like a
Customer.
texting system built into our
Mm.
phone line. But yeah, customers or like a doctor's office, so the patients would call or whatever. So there are certain things. Speaking of doctor's office and stuff like this, I had to have my doctor send me blood work to go get, I had to go get the form to give the place that takes my blood. They're like, "Oh, can we fax it to you?" No.
You
It's
can. I mean, you can fax it to somewhere. I don't know who's going to get it.
it's 2024. I don't have a phone line in my house, let alone a dedicated fax line in my house. And then I said, "Can you email it?" They're like, "No." Oh, well, what would you like me to do?
But just print it out, scan it, and then email it to me.
I
And
had to
then
go pick it
fax
up.
that.
I had to drive to the office to pick it up because there are other options where we can mail it to you and get it to you in 9 years because post office, or we can get you. Can you fax? Can you fax?
They
Yeah, I
just
have a
don't
fax
want you to
machine.
have it, I think.
Yeah,
They're
that's
just
the
trying
medical.
to do whatever they can so you don't get it.
Right,
He'll never pick it up. Tell him we'll
No.
fax it, sucker.
right. I do want to get a fax machine, so I can be like, "Yeah, go ahead. I got it. I got your fax number."
That'd be great to have a business card with a fax number on it. Yeah, I mean that's crazy. At least I don't have anyone in my life trying to fax shit to me. I
Well, you
so
wouldn't know.
That's true. They might be trying all the time. I do. You said you don't really. You get maybe anxiousness about. Like, oh, it might be bad news. Basically,
Right.
is what it is. I do get general anxiety, which I think is where this stems from with our generation. Of just, I don't know if it's because we were raised so much on the internet that we are socially not as capable as,
Right.
at least
We
in certain ways.
we are broken human beings.
Because I mean, and maybe some of it's just personal that I'm more introverted, but
Mhm.
there is something about a phone call that
Right.
feels like it's I almost get. I mean, I'm not like I don't want to make it sound like I have a
Have a
crippling fear. Yeah,
yeah.
that I'm unable to make a phone call, or that I'll like curl up in a ball and need to talk to my therapist about it.
Right.
That's not quite the case.
No, that's for other things.
But they're like I'm an adult. I can overcome these feelings. I can call and
Right.
order a pizza if I need to do that.
But it's also, on that same thing, like, we talk at people for a living, like we communicate. Now, is it different? Like, if I were to say, like, we hop on Discord and play a game, is that different than a phone call because a phone call is unexpected?
Well, that's part of it for sure. I think that's part of it in this case.
I mean, receiving a phone call, not giving a phone call. If you're giving a phone call, you expect it.
Yes. I mean, even if it's expected, though, assuming it's not like, I don't know, just a phone call, even if it's like, oh, someone's going to call around 5 p.m. or something. That's actually worse. I don't want.
It is worse. I don't like that. No, just call me. Yes.
But I do get like a minor little nervousness, almost like I'm about to give a presentation in front of my class or something. Of
Okay.
Like, I just don't just because I don't know what am I going to say to this person. How do I get through this conversation quickly? Mostly that's with strangers, less so than family members. It's not even an issue with friends because friends just don't call me. So that's just not a thing. But it's like if it's
I'll start
like you said, a doctor, or if it's like, I don't know, like my apartment building's super for some reason has something to say or whatever it is, that it's like, what are they gonna yell at me? I don't know. I mean, I think for our even I remember, like, I feel like there's an unspoken thing we would have at game nights in the past where it's like nobody wanted to be the person to call to order the pizza. It was always like, who's going to do it? You do it. I don't know. Write everything down so I don't make a mistake when I tell them. Now,
or a few times we'll be like, we're just going to starve. It's fine. We just want to eat this time.
I like truly DoorDash and Grubhub have helped and hurt our generation and the next, I think, because I think that's added to it where it is much more possible now to avoid having phone calls with anybody.
Oh, no. I was very serious when I said if I have to call a pizza place and they have a big thing where it's like, they don't have a website, an app, or whatever, I most likely will just find someone else.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's a multitude of reasons, because usually when you call like an Italian restaurant, there's noise in the background. They don't want to be on the phone. You don't want to be on the phone. It's going to be a lot of, do you have, and, how much is, like, if I have to ask a question about pricing on the phone, I'll just be like, oh, okay, fine. Just give me whatever.
I think you've struck on something that's a very big part of it, which is boomers and Gen X to some extent and older generations. I think there's much more of an attitude of, in general, with service workers of, I'm here, you're here to give me service. It's your job. You do what I tell you to do. And I think there's a much more of a thing with millennials and younger that is like, I feel bad. I don't want to make this person ruin their day and give them more work to do. I don't want to have to like call them and tell them I need something. This is embarrassing. I'll just, if you submit it online, then it's like, they can get to it. I don't need to talk to me about it. I think that's a big part of the...
Well, it's also the same thing with a lot of us too, where it's like, if I walk into, let's say, a Taco Bell, for example, and there's a line at the kiosk versus no line at the person standing there taking my order, I'll wait in the line at the kiosk.
Yeah. Oh, that's me at like doing a self-checkout at a Wawa or whatever.
100%. Even grocery stores, because even it might be the New Jersey in me, it might be the whatever, when people are like, oh, you're buying cinnamon? What are you making? Please don't talk to me. But it's so weird because, like, we for whatever project used to go to the Midwest, or you going to see family or whatever. And it's like, when you go out there, people are like much more want to talk to cashiers and stuff. It's like, oh, hi, how are you? How was your day? I'm like, they don't care. Don't.
Yeah, right. That could be a regional thing.
And it's also too, like, I bring it into like restaurants. Like, there's some restaurants where it's like, I won't go back to a restaurant if it's a restaurant where it's like, oh, the waiter's going to like not sit down, but like kneel down, talk to you and do it. It's like, just, I'll give you a big tip if you just stop.
You don't want them cracking jokes and saying, oh boy, you weren't hungry, were you?
Well, that I don't even mind. It's like sometimes, like I've been to one or two restaurants where it's like they'll pull up a chair and like talk to you as you're taking your order, and I'm like, no. I have to go now. I'm no longer hungry. I left the oven on.
Yeah, I'm sure they do that because it usually gives them a better tip, probably.
It usually gives them a better tip, and I think like a lot of times they're like people who I think do a lot of restaurant stuff enjoy some people talking.
Those
where it's like, I don't.
restaurateurs.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of phone call stuff. It's like, it's rare that I'll even like pick up a phone call. I'll usually let it go right to voicemail if I have no idea who it is, just for a number of reasons. Like if it's like, oh, it's my area code and it potentially could be my doctor. And I'm like, I'll let it go to voicemail because this generation has to deal with a lot of like spam calls and like, oh, if you say like, yes, my name's Ivan in the phone, it's like, oh, they can steal your information potentially.
I'm never answering a phone call if I don't know who it is.
Nope.
0% of the time.
Nope.
Ever. Ever.
That's why I'll let it go to voicemail. I'll even take you one step further with this whole thing. Does your phone translate your
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
voice?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I won't listen to the voicemail.
Yep, that's correct. I do not want to listen to it. That makes me nervous. I will read the transcription 100%.
And I've gotten so good at reading those transcriptions because they mess up some words sometimes.
Yeah.
I could fill that in like that.
Yeah, we know the drill. So, but what about in this case? It's Alex's boyfriend. So it's not a stranger. It's not a doctor or a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
It is a boyfriend. They live together.
Okay.
They are, I believe it is said, in their early 30s.
Mm-hmm. So they're old.
So they're very, very old.
Very old, very frail, feeble.
And again, some of the things that like Wyatt is calling about are often just, little updates, little things. How's your day? How's my day? Here's where I am. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Whatever it might be.
Right.
What's your partner stance? Are there calls? Are there phone calls happening?
The only time, so I think we've talked about this a lot before. We are the type of relationship where it's like, hey, I'm heading to the store now. Do you need anything while he's at work or I'm somewhere, or leaving, be home soon? But I think a lot of that's more so like, just to make sure you're like, oh, I know you're leaving. I got to tell the mistress to get out and, that stuff like, but more so like, oh, just make sure you're like, oh, if you're not home, like I know when you'll be home. So you're not like, if I know you're in an accident, like something like that. But usually it's never a phone call. It's like it's a text. Hey, be home in 20 minutes. Hey, there are some times where it's like, oh, if we're both, if he's driving, I'm driving, and it's a long drive, it'll be a phone call while that person's driving.
That's reasonable if it's
right.
Yes, if you're not able to text at that time,
or
in the car.
Even like there have been times where it's like it's a long drive and I need someone to like chat at to keep me sane, like over an hour or whatever drive. I'll be like, oh, let me just give them a ring. But that's basically it. Or like, because I do a lot of photography out in like woods and middle of nowhere. I'll give a call or even more so a text to be like, hey, I'm at this park. If I don't come home, this is where I am. Like stuff like that. Because if you go on hikes, there's animals and whatever. But
serial killers, yeah.
But that's basically it. It's never like anything like that. Or if I need an answer like right now, like if I'm at the grocery store and it's like, do we have milk in the fridge? What did you need me to get at the pharmacy? There's like, but that's like, so basically urgent things.
Yeah,
but never.
In spite of what I said about all my nervousness around phone calls, I don't think that extends to a significant other, partner, girlfriend, wife, mistress.
Right. Or all on one collective phone call.
Yeah. I like that's right. That's what conference calls are for.
It's a three-way call.
Yep. Yeah, there is. I like that's one area where I feel like the boundary can be crossed, and personally, I wouldn't feel annoyed or anxious about it, which is what tells me that clearly Alex has a more serious anxiousness about this than I do.
I don't want to say issue, but yeah.
Because
medical.
There's just, for me personally, there's many things that are like, it's just a different thing with that one person that it's not
Right.
with yourself, which is not
Well-
to say, because in a vacuum, I totally get like a text a call when it could be a text.
Who's calling you from inside a vacuum? That's loud. You can't make a phone call from it. It's like that's a loud noise.
I'm gonna move on from that. Like,
oh, thank you.
like you were saying that like be home in 5 minutes. If you're calling me just to say be home in 5 minutes, then I'm like,
Right.
I'm gonna see you in 5 minutes. A text
Right.
is fine. A text is fine. But I also don't know if I'd be. I don't know, but there's circumstances to it. It wouldn't be like an immediate. Oh, it's a call. I feel like becoming from that specific person makes a difference.
Now, it's also too, like, I was just thinking about this. When me and my partner first started dating, it was 11, 12 years ago at this point. And, you know, everyone had
You
a
were
phone.
45 at that time.
I was 45. We used a rotary phone. But before we first started dating, or like dating more,
Timeline.
that's how we communicated. Like, we would either do a Skype call, we would do a voice call. Like, we would communicate that way because we weren't living with each other at that point. We weren't.
That's a big difference too. If you're not living together, that makes a big difference. Makes more
because
sense.
because sometimes texting you can't get certain things through a text. You know, or if it's a sarcasm thing, or if it's a fight thing, or if it's just, you know, showing up. You can't really show affection and stuff through a text. Especially
That's what
like,
the
you know,
emojis for.
Well, when I first started dating, there was like 2 emojis.
Oh, right. Back in when you were on your rotary phone.
Right.
The emoji was
So,
just
like
a beep sound. Beep, beep, beep. That means I'm happy.
But it was that, you know, that kind of thing where it's like, when it's your significant other at any point in the relationship, I think there is a little bit more leeway with like that kind of, is it leeway?
We've done this on the show before.
Huh. Bees?
Beads.
So I think it's, you know, you get a little bit more wiggle room when it's that. If it's not, hey, I'll be home in 5 minutes. Oh, hey, what's going on? And you're like, you're upstairs. What do you need?
Yeah. Definitely. There's like a sweet spot. Because I feel like too early in the relationship, it's weird to call. But then, to me, it is. I mean,
if you're like,
if
you're first starting to date, and that's how, like, if you're not meeting each other as often as you could, or even if it's like long distance kind of relationship.
Yeah. I mean, distance makes a difference, but I'm like first 3 months. I feel like that's like how often are you talking on the phone in that period?
Well, it depends if it's like, are you dating? Is it just like, is it like a long term? Like, are you starting to do
like
something?
say you're like exclusively dating for the first.
I would say first 3 months. Like,
you're
if you
calling each other, you're talking on the phone.
If you're not seeing each other, like if you're not within
Let's say you assume you have a date like once a week or something.
I would say call in between, or a video chat in between, a FaceTime, if you will. That kind of thing is, I feel like
that's me, because I feel like I'm not. I need to know you really well to be comfortable talking to you on the phone.
But that's how you know someone really well.
That's what the face to face is for. That's what that's where I would want to get to know you more than talking on the phone. But that's like a personal thing.
But see, for me, I feel like I wouldn't want to text somebody because like you can put like I said, more emotion and stuff via
I think
real
we
voice.
are also very different in that I'm very comfortable expressing myself through words and text, and I feel like you aren't as much.
Well, I'm more of a I'm a face-to-face person with friends and relationship kind of thing.
I'm much more like, I can think about it, I can look at it, I can read it, I can feel good about that message. There's less, the same reason I don't want a phone call. There's less anxiety because there's less at stake there. I feel more comfortable with.
Because I would even say for even the first couple months of us dating, not us. That's long.
Yeah, well,
gone.
that hasn't happened yet. Soon.
No. Well, this is our first date.
I think 2026.
Oh, I'm busy. So we would even put on Skype and watch a movie together, kind of thing, and then that was early on in our relationship as well.
To me that feels like so intimate. That's like wow, you must have really had a strong connection to do that so early.
Well, I would say but you said 3 months. That's
Yeah, but I guess I'm just thinking I don't know why there's a difference in my head. It feels like, oh, you do that in person, watch a movie in person. That's oh yeah, that's like a date. But to do it at home, in your like room or like on a computer feels like, I don't know why that feels more intimate to me than doing it in real
Okay.
life. It feels like you're really like, I don't just want to be with you when I'm with you. I want to be with you even when I'm not with you. Is like kind of what you're saying.
Right.
Like that's like I don't know. That's true love, I think.
God, I hope so. It's been 11 plus years.
Well, the jury's still out.
This ring doesn't come off anymore.
What do we need to
So-
dissect with the rest of this case here before we can do a verdict?
So,
What's left?
it is very much so they live together.
They live together.
They've
She
been
says,
together
Can we
for-
text? We don't know how long, but probably if they live together at least 6 months to a year, they've probably
At least
been
6 months to
together.
a year.
They're in their early 30s, so who knows? It could be longer.
And it's while so is it usually while Alex is out or is it any time?
It
So if
sounds
Alex-
like it's any time, but maybe more so even when Alex is home and Wyatt is out, that he's the one calling her.
See, I feel like that's less weird because like I don't like being on a phone call out in public. We've discussed this on the show. I hate people who have loud conversations while they're in a store or just don't use earbuds and just kind of have or video call while they're walking through a store and everyone can hear everything. But I feel like when you're at home, there'd be less anxiety when your partner calls you. Because once again, this isn't a stranger. This is somebody that you're sharing a bed with,
that's where it's also important to distinguish that this is clearly, Alex says she suffers from anxiety, OCD, and ADHD. Like this goes beyond the millennial nervousness. This is like, it genuinely, upsets her for whatever reason.
But, and hopefully not upsetting anybody by saying this, but at what point, because this is somebody that you are potentially going to be, if all things work out, together until one of you dies.
Best case scenario.
Best case scenario, somebody dies. At what point do you maybe go to, if you aren't already, to a therapist, to a doctor? Because this is something, it's crossing on serious when it's like the person you're living with. Sure, if it's like, hey, they call me every 20 minutes to ask me something, or no, you hang up first. No, you like that kind of like stupid phone call. But if it's like, you can't, like, I don't know. I feel like it's not a great relationship if you have anxiety with that person.
Damn, that's pretty, I feel like that's pretty unfair. Because I mean, that's just what some people, that's like conditions that they have.
No, but if that's the person you can't,
yeah, but
not let down your wall, but
legitimate, it's just the phone calls. If it were like 24/7, I like can't talk to them. I'd agree with you.
Like can't be in person with, but I don't know.
But there's like a specific thing just around phone calls. I guess because I relate to that. Maybe I understand.
But I mean, you're not that bad to where you're like, do not call me. But do you think if it's that bad, they should seek?
Well,
help?
but also like here's the balancing here is what's more reasonable to ask this person to who maybe they already are in therapy. I mean, who knows?
Right. We don't know
what meds they're on. Like, to me, this isn't a thing that's so debilitating that like you must get it fixed. I think you could live a perfectly normal life without being on phone calls all the time. But like, what's more reasonable, asking them to do whatever to fix that, or just saying, hey, text me before you call? What I think one of them costs money and hours of time and your life, and one is just a little beep beep.
Get a little beep beep. I think I would be a little perturbed if I was Wyatt. That like or that she didn't bring this up. Alex didn't bring this up sooner. Like if we've been doing this for like a year,
I mean,
we don't know. It could have been.
I mean,
but like
it doesn't sound like it's a new development. I imagine,
right?
He knows that she keeps her phone on do not disturb because he tries calling her and she doesn't answer.
Well, yeah, that's yeah. But I would be a little perturbed if it was me. Not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to break up with you over this, but like maybe there's something we can figure out, something we can try. I'll cut down on some of the calling. Especially if it's like, stuff like that. But it's like,
but you also don't think the texting before calling isn't that the figure something out? Isn't that? But is it like?
But is it texting before calling or texting in lieu of calling?
She says, just text 5 minutes before you call. Give me a warning. That's what her request is.
it's not terrible, but but putting the phone on do not disturb is also kind of dangerous at times too, because
dangerous.
If you're trying to contact somebody and it goes to do not disturb,
people lived for many years without cell phones, right?
But we're going to have a because we've had this discussion before on the show where it's like, if I'm in an accident, I'm probably calling my significant other to come out and do whatever.
I'm not saying they don't have benefits. I'm just saying it's like,
but like it is kind of like
did survive for a long time without them.
Right. But they can just turn off do not disturb, like mute it then, but you can still see it. But do not disturb goes right to voicemail. Like, I don't know. I think it's a little problematic in certain circumstances. Or, okay, fine.
You love phones. You love phones.
Not that I love phones. I just like being able to contact people if need be, especially someone who's probably your emergency contact.
I guess.
So, like Danny's my emergency contact. Yeah. I would be a little pissed off if he was like, "Oh, do not disturb," and like, "Oh, I'm calling him for some reason or whatever." But I could also see like, okay, do not disturb. You could probably select people. I don't know how that works. Most of your phone contacts, but have like your inner circle be able to call you.
I wonder if there's a way to. Maybe there's an app. I don't know if there's a way just through a phone to say like, there's a different number you can call if it's an emergency that will go through.
Right.
Or maybe you could just sure there's some way to set that up. Cause that would be my thought. It's like, yeah, if it's an and maybe this is different. I don't know. You people have medical issues going on in your lives.
What do you mean by you? No.
You know what I mean? But, like how, like most days they're not getting in a car accident.
No. But okay, even if it's like, okay, Wyatt says, I'm not going to call you, I'll just text you first. But then there's that one time when there is a car accident or something has happened that they need to get in contact with you via voice ASAP. Leaving it on do not disturb is a little irresponsible as an adult.
I can't go as far as you with irresponsible. I just don't feel that way about. I wish our society didn't have phones all the time. I find it burdensome. But
Oh, but not even. But I'm not saying like oops, I dropped the eggs at the store. Call me like.
Yeah.
And it's not even that we had phone calls. Like if she's potentially at home, everyone had for the most part a home phone, which is who you called in an emergency or whatever. Like that's where I'm getting from. Once again, if this is like she can't handle the phone calls and he's literally calling her like, oh, hey, should I go for the red shirt or the blue? Like,
I mean, that is what we're talking about in this case specifically.
Right.
Any emergencies is a hypothetical.
Right. But I think the terminology of putting it on do not disturb is a little bit of a block that is a little bit too much. Because Wyatt should also like respect the boundaries to an extent. Like, she asked you, hey, can you not call me all the time or text me before you call me? Apparently this has happened so much that they had to put on do not disturb because.
Well, I think that's just her default. I don't know if that's as a reaction to him.
Right.
But I'm also going to, just to clarify a couple of points. She does work in an office and he works from home.
Okay.
So that's actually the situation. He apparently calls about all kinds of things, just saying, hey, what are you doing later? Stuff like that.
Right. That's text-worthy.
She says she's often like listening to a podcast or something else. Like she'll have headphones in, and that a phone call like interrupts her and can disrupt her schedule, her routine because she's distracted
mode.
Or whatever.
Right.
So that's kind of, I don't know if she's do not disturb 24/7, but
right.
But like during the day, certainly.
Now I could totally see, like we have it like during the 8 hours that he's at work. I'm not calling unless it's like something's going down, like if there's an issue, and I'm probably not even texting them while he's at work. Like there are and it sounds like there's an issue too, that there are boundaries that should be respected. Unless it's like, oh, I'm out and I see something like something funny or whatever, I'll snap a picture, send it. But it's not like, oh, how's work going? That's conversation. That's where I agree with you with phones being kind of ruining our life, because that conversation when you come home is no longer happening because you're constantly talking throughout the day.
But that's how I feel too. It's like, when you're sitting down for dinner, it's like, well, we have nothing left to say.
Right.
You need to spend time apart so that you can actually enjoy being together.
Oh, 100%. Because there's during COVID, it was like a lot of relationships were like, I'm going to kill you.
Right. So what we need to ultimately decide, like the thing on trial here is Alex is the geek, Alex, for saying, text me before you call. That's what this really is boiled down to. That's the thing. That's the point.
Right.
Is she guilty of this? Is it unreasonable to ask this?
I can start.
Go.
No, she's not. It's not unreasonable. Like,
done.
Well, I mean, because it's like, there's not really a ton to go into, because like your partner's asking you something that's not like, don't contact me. Don't, between the hours of 9 to 5, do not send me a message. It's a simple, hey, text me before you call me, because it does seem like Wyatt has not an addiction to calling this person, but like I'm bored. Can you just talk to me? I'm working from home today. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like,
He's annoying, this guy.
There are some boundaries to set that they asked you. Do I think they should maybe either talk about it with a marriage counselor, talk about it with somebody, maybe. But she asked you to do something, do it. So I don't think Alex is guilty.
I mean, we don't hear Wyatt's side of this story, and maybe maybe I'm not being totally fair, because for me it's like, well, why would I want to talk on the phone anyway? But maybe for some reason for Wyatt, that is his love language is phone calls. I don't know, in which case maybe they should try to come to a better, even though in my opinion the text before you call compromise is the compromise. To me, right. That seems extremely reasonable, very it's not asking too much of anybody involved. You and I had some differences in opinion on the nature of phones or whatever, but I think we come to the same conclusion in this specific case, especially when you consider the factors of they live together. Mm-hmm. So they are seeing each other every single morning and night anyway. Right. And the fact that she has these conditions that are like known, that it's not like she's just like, this is annoying. Right. It is a genuine source of anxiety for her. It's just perfectly reasonable to just say, text before you call. There's no guilt on Alex's part.
Now, what do you think about voice memos? Somebody send you a voice memo in a text.
I don't think I'm against it, but it's also just something that I don't think I've ever really experienced. Who does
I think it's another like Apple thing, or like where it's like people will just send each other voice memos. I'm like, don't, just call me then.
What about FaceTime? We didn't talk about that. We don't have Apple phones, so we're not FaceTiming.
Well, but even Skyping or like what, like
nobody does that,
I don't like. I have nobody in my family. You've said in the past on the show you do, but like I have nobody in my family who's like.
I do have people in my family, yeah.
Hop on video chat with me.
It's once there's niece and nephew or grandkids, because that's the thing that's all my other, my parents and whoever are all like, oh, we're all FaceTiming with the kids every day, my sister's kids, and then I'm probably, yes, the grandparents are nuts. They love those kids, man.
I should fix that face. Sorry.
And it's all, my niece and nephew are like, how come we can't FaceTime Uncle Jonathan? Why is he a fucking freak who doesn't have an Apple phone? They don't understand. And no one in my family understands. I'm the only one who doesn't have an iPhone.
it's behind the paywall. Pay $5 a month, and you can see Uncle Jonathan all you want.
And like phones used to just have an audio. It's old fashioned.
Like, okay, like if I'm doing video games or something online, or even like what we're doing now, I like being able to see the person. That's
Sometimes.
but not with like if I'm just calling you to say, hey, how's the weather?
Yeah, that's weird. Or you're like out grocery, you're just out for a walk, and you're like, how is everything? What do I need to? This isn't Star Trek. I don't need to be looking at your face.
And like, I could see if it's different. Like if you're like living
even
like
in Star Trek, the tricorder didn't have a screen.
But like if you're living like multiple states apart, and it's like, oh, you do that once a month or something, fine.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
But like, I would never call anyone, let alone Danny, while I'm like at the supermarket on video. First off, a lot of these stores don't have really great infrastructure for Wi-Fi and stuff like that. I don't, that takes up data. Secondly, what are they going to see? Just my face? They're going to see that in a few minutes anyway. Like,
yeah. All right, we're going too long. We got a sentence. We got to punish Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Only text. Only texting. No. He has to. No more phone. Everything has to be via like Discord. Discord only. I guess you could do video on Discord, but you know what I'm saying.
I was thinking maybe we go the other direction and give him more phone than he can handle.
And he would love it.
I don't know. I think we break him at a certain point. Maybe he's got to do a customer service.
He has to work in a call center.
Job. Yeah,
he has to work in a call center.
We sentence you to 3 months of telemarketing work. Did you ever watch that telemarketers documentary? On no, you didn't. You should watch.
No, I haven't. I should. Let me know. Let me tell you the other worst thing too: telehealth appointments. I'm not a fan of going to doctors, but I don't want to Skype you. Well, I don't want you to see my home and see my poor lifestyle at my house.
Yeah, no, you don't want that.
No,
do you want some of this?
Oh, hi. Oh, I should have brought mine up. I have a new kitten.
Audio listeners, there's a cat on the feed.
Now, how often do you call them?
Hello.
Hello.
Cat phone. Who is this?
Who is this?
Hello, speaking to the mic, please. Or do I do it? This is the receiver?
That's the receiver. Oh,
hello?
That's not the receiver. Don't. Oh, no.
Anyway, if you've got a verdict for us, you can send it to us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You're going to get hair all over this gown. I really can't have you doing that. I mean, robe. Send it to us, geeksontrial@gmail.com, or you can comment on YouTube. Let us know what you think about this one, how you feel about phone calls, etc. You can also submit your own geeky case, whether it's about technology, waterboarding. Waterboarding? I don't know what I'm talking about. Send in those cases to us. We'll change your names and we'll settle that dispute for you here on the air.
We're going to have to if it's about waterboarding. If somebody's sending us emails about waterboarding, it's going to be a case. We're going to do it, but we might be over at patreon.com/geeksontrial. And hey, for $5 a month, you could see us talking about waterboarding in depth. But it's mainly us getting
water
to
sports
you.
Even.
What? Talking about for $5 a month, you gain early access to the audio and video. Plus, you gain early access or only access to our feet pics. No, Geeks on Trial sidebar. That's over there. It comes out twice a month, and it's a fun show for all to have. And hey, Jonathan, when you're, I'm losing it. It's after hours. I'm done.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
That ice cream truck.
How do you get that ice cream truck?
You can find me chasing an ice cream truck around Ivan's neighborhood. Or
that's you?
A slightly easier way to do it would be to find me on my website, jonathanestis.com. You can find links to my podcast, my YouTube videos, and my things that I write over there. How about you, Ivan?
You can find me everywhere. It's Ivan Hahn on the internet. You just Google me.
Cool.
Google
Cool.
Ivan Hahn.
Bing
and
it.
I also have no, we don't do that in this family. We use Ask Jeeves still. You can head over to youtube.com/thesnackguy. Watch an episode of me and Jonathan talking about soda and just a bunch of other fun stuff that is up on there. Shorts, longs, mediums, in-betweens. All sorts of videos for you over at The Snack Guy on YouTube. And until next time, I'm Ivan Hahn.
I'm Jonathan Estes. And this case got shut.